She stood in the doorway with her overnight bag and said, "This trip is with Cameron, and I need you to not show up or hover. I don't want you dragging the mood down in front of people who matter." I looked at her for a second, said nothing, and opened my laptop to unwind every commitment tied to my name. Hey friends, please subscribe and turn on notifications, like this video, and leave a comment with your impressions. This will be a great help. Thank you. We never tire of reminding you. It's all thanks to you. I'm 39, and at the time this happened, I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I work as a safety coordinator for a mid-sized construction company. My job is paperwork and prevention. When something goes wrong on a site, the question is always the same. What did you document? What did you verify? And what did you sign? I didn't realize how much that mindset would matter in my personal life until I met Haley. Haley was 31, a project manager for an event production company that handled corporate retreats and charity galas. She was good at logistics in her own way. She could make 10 calls, move a schedule, and still look calm. She also cared a lot about perception. Who sat at which table, who got invited, who posted what. I told myself that was part of her industry. We'd been together a little over 2 years and shared a rented house in the Nob Hill area. It wasn't big, but it had a small yard and a detached garage where I kept my tools. We were talking about getting married the following spring. Not a huge wedding, but something real. We had already paid a deposit on an engagement ring setting and booked a photographer for engagement photos in early fall. Haley also pushed for a weekend, pre-wedding getaway to a resort in Santa Fe, something she said would be our first official couple trip before we started wedding planning. She loved milestones. For most of the first year, she made me feel like a partner. We cooked together. We watched old movies. We spent Sundays cleaning the house and planning meals for the week. She teased me about being organized, but it felt affectionate. Then slowly, the rhythm changed. It started with her coming home later than usual, but not in a predictable way. She'd text, running behind, and show up at 10 p.m. smelling like a hotel lobby, perfume and air conditioning, when her office was 10 minutes away. She began taking calls outside, even when it was hot, pacing the yard like she didn't want her words to touch the walls of our house. Her phone became a constant, face down at dinner, slid into her pocket when I walked into the room. If it buzzed, she'd glance at it fast, then smile at nothing. One evening, I was on our shared tablet checking the power company portal because we'd gotten a weird billing spike. The tablet was signed into our household email because that's where statements went. A notification banner popped up at the top. Your reservation has been updated. Santa Fe Vista Resort, 2 nights. We did have a Santa Fe trip planned, but not for 2 nights on those dates. The dates in the banner were a week earlier than our scheduled weekend. I didn't click it. I didn't have to. My brain filed it away like an incident report. When Haley got home, I kept my tone casual. Did our Santa Fe trip move? She blinked too slow. What? I saw a resort notification on the tablet, I said. It looked like the dates changed. She laughed, a quick burst that sounded rehearsed. Oh, that, work, I'm coordinating a retreat, same resort, different dates. That explanation could have been true. Her company did retreats. It was plausible, so I let it go, even though something in me didn't relax. The next week, she started dressing differently for ordinary things. A supplier meeting meant a new dress. A quick check-in meant heels. She spent longer in the bathroom and less time talking to me. Then, on a Thursday night in late August, she said the part she thought would be normal. We were standing in the kitchen. I was rinsing dishes. She was leaning on the counter, scrolling on her phone with the little smile she used when she was texting someone she wanted to impress. I'm going to Santa Fe this weekend, she said. I turned off the water. We're going this weekend. No, she said, like I'd misunderstood on purpose. I'm going. It's a networking thing. With who? I asked. She didn't look up immediately. That pause was the loudest sound in the room. With Cameron, she said finally. I knew Cameron's name because it had come up before. Cameron was her ex from before we met. She described him as a chapter that taught me a lot. She also claimed they had stayed friendly because our circles overlap. I didn't love that, but I never tried to control her friendships. I believed trust was a decision you make daily. What kind of networking thing involves a weekend away with your ex? I asked. Haley's eyes narrowed, and her voice got that clipped, professional tone she used when she wanted to end a conversation. It's not romantic. Cameron's company is sponsoring a small gathering. There will be people there I should meet. it could help my career. I held steady, and you didn't mention this until now. I'm mentioning it now, she snapped, because I'm being transparent. There's a difference between transparency and permission. She wasn't asking how I felt. She was informing me of a plan she'd already committed to. I took a breath. If it's a gathering with people, why can't I come? That's when she delivered the line that changed everything. She put her phone down like she was putting down a final answer. Because I don't want you there. You'll make it heavy. This is with Cameron, and I need you to not show up or hover. I don't want you dragging the mood down in front of people who matter. People who matters. I stared at her for a moment, letting it sink in. It wasn't just a boundary-crossing weekend. It was her telling me directly that I was a liability in the version of her life she cared most about. I didn't argue. I didn't demand her phone. I didn't ask who else would be there. I didn't plead for reassurance. I just asked one question, quietly. Do you hear yourself right now? Haley rolled her eyes. Don't do the dramatic thing. It's 2 nights. 2 nights at the same resort that had updated on our shared tablet. 2 nights with her ex. 2 nights where she didn't want me near the room. My body stayed calm, but something in my mind clicked. It felt like a safety latch locking into place. Because I remembered everything that was already in motion. The ring deposit I'd paid at a jeweler in town, the engagement photo contract signed with a local photographer, the rental car reservation we'd booked for our own Santa Fe weekend later in September, the savings account we'd opened together for wedding and house, with automatic transfers from my paycheck, the lease renewal offer from our landlord, sitting in our inbox waiting for signatures. I realized she was keeping one foot in our stable life while trying to audition a different one, and she expected me to wait quietly at home like a placeholder. I said okay. Her shoulders relaxed, like she'd won an argument without having to fight. Thank you, that's all I needed. She picked up her phone and walked away, already texting again. That night after she fell asleep, I opened my laptop and treated my relationship the way I would treat a job site issue. Identify exposure, reduce risk, document actions, and stop further commitments. First, the ring deposit. I searched my email from Mesa Jewelers and found the receipt. Subject: deposit receipt, custom setting, invoice MJ3107. I read the terms. The deposit was refundable within 14 days if the custom work had not begun. The next line mattered. Custom work begins upon written approval of the final design rendering. We had not approved anything because Haley kept not having time to pick the final setting details. We were on day 12. The next morning, I called when they opened. Mesa Jewelers, a man answered. Hi, I said. I need to cancel an order and request a refund on the deposit. Invoice MJ3107. He verified my name, asked if the design had been approved, and I answered truthfully, no, it had not. All right, he said, we can cancel. Refund goes back to the original card in 5 to 8 business days. I'll email confirmation. 2 minutes later, it arrived. Subject: cancellation confirmed. Refund initiated. Invoice MJ3107. Receipt number 1. Second, the engagement photo contract. We had booked a photographer for a Saturday morning session in early September. The contract had a retainer and a reschedule clause. The retainer was non-refundable, but could be credited if the session was transferred to a different client. The photographer had a wait list. I emailed her. Subject: request to cancel engagement session, September 7. I didn't write a story. I wrote a sentence. Change in circumstances. Please confirm cancellation and any possible credit or rebook refund per your policy. She replied politely. Subject: session canceled. Retainer credit only, policy attached. Receipt number 2. Third, the Santa Fe car reservation and resort plans in my name. Our later trip had a refundable booking because I always choose refundable when possible. I canceled it and saved the confirmation. Subject: reservation canceled, refund pending, 3-5 business days. Receipt number 3. Then I looked at our joint savings account. It was a legitimate shared account we both used. The money in it was mostly mine because I had set the automatic transfer higher, but we both contributed. I wasn't going to drain it like a thief. That would be messy and unethical. I did two simple things instead. I turned off my automatic transfer immediately and took screenshots of the account balance and transaction history for my records. Then I sent Haley an email from my personal account, so it was timestamped and clear. Subject: shared savings account. I've paused my automatic contributions. We can reconcile the balance and divide it fairly once we confirm all shared deposits and refunds. That was it. No insults, no threats, just a paper trail. Then I handled the house. Our lease was in both names. We were 3 months away from renewal. The landlord had already emailed a renewal offer with new rent terms. We hadn't signed. I pulled the current lease and read the tenant responsibility clause. If one person moved out, both remained responsible unless the landlord approved a release or a replacement tenant. I wasn't going to put myself in legal limbo. I emailed our landlord. Subject: lease renewal, tenant update request. I stated that I would not be signing any renewal and requested the process for tenant removal or substitution if the remaining tenant wanted to continue. I also asked for confirmation, in writing, that no renewal would be valid with my name unless I signed. The landlord replied that afternoon, noted, renewal requires signatures from all tenants. If one tenant wants to remain, they must qualify a loan or provide a qualified replacement. Receipt number 4. By Friday, the decisions were made. Now it was execution. Haley packed her bag Saturday morning like she was going on a work trip. She wore a fitted jacket and the boots she saved for nice settings. She checked her phone 3 times while she zipped the bag. As she headed for the door, she said, "Don't blow up my weekend with a bunch of texts." I looked up from the table. "I won't." She smiled, satisfied, and left. The second her car pulled away, I started packing. I packed only what was clearly mine: clothes, my personal documents, my laptop, work gear, and chargers, the tools in the garage that I bought with my money, the camping equipment I owned before we met. I left anything shared or ambiguous: the couch, the TV, the kitchenware, the wall art she picked. I took photos of each room after I packed, showing the condition, not for revenge, for protection. I arranged a short-term rental through a local furnished housing service used by traveling nurses. Month to month, deposit paid, lease in my name only. I moved my things in one trip and left the house clean. On the kitchen counter, I left a single sheet of paper. "Haley, I moved out today. I will pay my share of rent through the end of our current lease term. I will not sign a renewal. Please communicate by email regarding bills, lease logistics, and dividing shared funds." Short, calm, final. She came back Sunday night. My phone started ringing at 9:14 p.m., then again at 9:16, then a flood of messages. "What is this? Where did you go? Are you serious right now?" Then an emails. Subject: "Are you kidding?" I replied once because adults handle logistics in writing when emotions get loud. Subject: "Ray, are you kidding? I moved out. I'm not continuing this relationship. Lease and financial logistics can be handled by email." That was the first confrontation. The next one happened in person Monday evening when she showed up outside my new place. I hadn't told her the address, but we had mutual friends, and she was the type who could extract information without even realizing she was doing it. She stood in the parking lot when I pulled in from work, arms crossed, face tight. "You really left," she said. "Yes," I replied. "Because I went on a networking trip," she snapped. "That's not why," I said. She scoffed. "Oh, spare me, you're jealous and controlling." Minimization and blame, right out of the gate. I kept my voice flat. "You told me you didn't want me there because I'd make you look small." "I was stressed," she said. "You take everything personally. You always have this heavy energy." Insult dressed up as feedback. I didn't bite. "If you need to discuss the lease or shared funds, email me." Her eyes flashed. "So you're just going to disappear and punish me? You think you're better than me because you're calm?" I looked at her evenly. "I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself." She stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was trying a different angle. "Cameron wasn't even," she started, then stopped, jaw tightening. That little stumble told me the weekend didn't go the way she'd imagined. Then her face changed and the tears came fast. I didn't think you'd actually leave, she whispered. I thought you'd cool off. I thought you'd get over it. I heard you clearly, I said, and I believed you. She stared at me like she wanted an argument to hook onto. My calm gave her nothing. I'm going inside, I said. Please don't come here again. She stood there shaking, then turned and walked back to her car. After that, the attempts came in a predictable cycle. First attempt, an unknown number called me late Tuesday night. The voicemail was Haley, voice soft and urgent. Please answer, I'm scared, I can't sleep. I blocked the numbers. Second attempt, email. Subject, I didn't mean it like that. She wrote a long message about how I misinterpreted everything, how Cameron was just a contact, how she was building her career, and how I was abandoning her when she needed support. She tried to rewrite the moment in the kitchen like it never happened. I didn't argue. I created an email filter that routed every message from her into a folder labeled Haley Records. I kept it lawful and clean. Third attempt, a friend intermediary. One of her coworkers, a woman I'd met twice at a holiday party, messaged me saying, Haley is a mess. She says you left over nothing. Can you at least talk to her? I replied with one sentence, please don't get involved. This is private. Then I blocked that message thread. Quiet karma didn't come from me. It came from the same thing it always comes from, consequences and math. Within a week, I received an email from our landlord addressed to both of us. Subject, lease renewal reminder, signatures required. Haley had apparently asked the landlord if she could renew a loan. The landlord replied to both of us, politely stating she would need to qualify independently or provide a qualified co-tenant. Haley's job was decent, but her income included performance bonuses. Without my income on the application, the landlord required either a larger deposit or a cosigner. Haley didn't have a cosigner lined up. Then the money piece hit her harder. The ring deposit refund landed back in my account first, 5 business days later, just like the jeweler said. The bank app notification popped up while I was checking my balance after work. I took a screenshot and saved it with the email confirmation. The Santa Fe refundable reservation cancellation also processed, another clean refund, another official timestamp. Haley emailed demanding her share immediately. I responded once politely with a plan. We'll reconcile shared expenses after all refunds and shared bills are finalized. I'll provide a simple ledger. I did exactly that. A plain spreadsheet. What I paid, what she paid, what was refunded, what remained. No emotion, just numbers. Meanwhile, her social world did what social worlds do. She posted a photo from Santa Fe the first night. A fireplace, a glass of wine, a caption about new doors. People commented asking where I was. She didn't answer. 2 days later, the photo was gone. A mutual acquaintance later mentioned, without trying to be dramatic, that Cameron had brought another woman to part of the gathering and introduced her as someone he's seeing. Haley had spent the weekend trying to look connected and important, and she ended up looking like an accessory. Back home, she scrambled. She tried to keep the house by herself and failed the income qualification without a bigger deposit. She had to move quickly to a smaller place, which cost money. She also had to pay a lease break fee because she couldn't carry the rent alone through the final months without a roommate, and the roommate she lined up backed out at the last minute. None of that was revenge. It was simply what happens when you treat stability like it's disposable. As for me, I kept moving forward quietly. I settled the lease properly. I paid my share until the end date. I transferred the utilities out of my name once the landlord confirmed the move-out. I stored every email and confirmation in a folder. I closed the chapter like I close a project, documented and complete. A few months later, in early December, I was doing fine. Not thriving on social media fine, just calm. My sleep was better. My home was simpler. I was saving money again. I was cooking meals without tension in the room. One evening, I stopped at a community center in a different part of town for a basic first aid refresher course my company encouraged. It was in a plain classroom with folding chairs and a whiteboard. I liked the simplicity of it. After the class, people stood around signing a sheet for completion certificates. I was putting my pen back in my pocket when I heard my name. Gavin. I turned and saw Haley. She looked tired, not messy, just worn down. Her hair was pulled back without effort. Her eyes were softer, like reality had done what my arguments never could. She stepped closer slowly. I didn't know you'd be here. I didn't know you'd be here either, I said. Her hands fidgeted around a folder. Can we talk, just for a minute? I can listen for a moment, I said, but I'm not reopening the relationship. She swallowed. I'm sorry. I was chasing something stupid. I wanted to feel important. Cameron made it sound like I was stepping into something bigger, and I ended up feeling used and embarrassed. I nodded once. I'm sorry you went through that. She blinked like she expected anger and didn't know what to do with calm. I miss our life, she whispered. I miss the safety. I kept my voice gentle. Safety is something you protect. You don't insult it and expect it to stay. Her eyes filled. I didn't think you'd leave. I believed what you said, I replied, and I chose peace. She looked down, then up again. Is there any chance? I shook my head once. No, I'm not angry. I'm finished. She stood still for a few seconds, then nodded like she was finally accepting the finality she tried to ignore months ago. I hope you're okay, she said quietly. I am, I replied. Please take care of yourself. Then I walked out into the cold evening air and drove home, feeling calm in a way I didn't have to force. If you've ever had to walk away without shouting, tell me what line finally made it clear for you. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know what you would have done.